p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KF5 PDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Seconds via echo link are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or echo link node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, Was Up, space exploration and space history, Constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, if you will do the check-in honors, please, from KF5 PDS.
Well, hello, Billy, and thanks for doing the net this evening. This is Tom, KE5ICX. I'll be your alternate net control station this evening. I'll now take short time check-in. If you'd like to join us in your short time, please come now with your call sign, phonetically your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Charlie 5, Mike, Papa Oscar, Jamie, mobile, short time, downtown Dallas.
Okay, we've got KC5MPO, Jamie, short time over in Dallas. Mobile, anyone else, short time, please come now. Okay, hearing none. Jamie, do you have anything for us this evening before you disappear into the ether?
I don't, Tom. Thank you. KC5MPO.
All right, very good. Drive safely. I'll now take check-in, general check. So please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. General check-in.
This is Whiskey 9 Victor Papa Uniform, Sam and Allen.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas.
This is Alpha Golf 9er Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas. Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson. This is
Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far, far northeast Dallas.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG 5 p.m.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas. Okay, let's get those checked in. We have W9BPU, that's Sam and Alan, NT5TM Tony in Dallas, AG9SG Antonio in Dallas, AA5AH Robert Richardson, W5GUF Gus, far, far northeast Dallas, WD50ZL Brenda in Dallas, AG5PM Rich in Rockwall, KG5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton, K5MCD Cody in Dallas. Additional check-ins, please come out.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, Tennessee.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Okay, we picked up two more, N50F, that's Clay in Mesquite, and NB5F, Virginia, over in Fort Worth. Okay, I'm going to move over to Echolink. Echolink check-ins now. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. I will give you extra time. Echolink only, please.
Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz from Lockbourne, Ohio. Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey J, near Weather.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Point.
All right, we picked up three over on Echolink. I got KF5JHA, that's Chaz in Lockbourne, Ohio. KG5BZW, J near Weatherford, and K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Point. I'll take check-ins from anywhere, any place, any mode. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, Miss Kelly, Miss Billy, we're up to 17. Back to you, KE5ITX.
Thanks very much, Tom, and welcome to all who have checked in on Skynet. All right, let's get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If you have an announcement for this evening's net, please come now with your call sign.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
PM, Tony, good evening. What announcements do you have for this evening's net?
Thank you, Billy. It's always great to hear you on the net. I have just two quick announcements. This is a great net, but it is not the last net of the evening. We will have the Afterglow movie discussion at 10:30 p.m. local time, plus or minus 5 minutes. Tonight's movie, I don't know where it came from. That's why it's called It Came From Somewhere. This is a black and white B drive-in movie made in 2022, just for fun. It's terrible on purpose. Just enjoy it. Anyway, we're going to talk about it right here tonight at 10:30 plus or minus 5 minutes. This Monday is time for GeekNet. GeekNet on this repeater at 7 p.m. local time, 1900. I hope you'll join us. Anything you like to geek out about is welcome. Geeky news, strange hobbies, even normal hobbies that you're just really excited about. Anyway, it's all welcome. I hope to hear you. NT5TM.
Thanks, Tony. All right, let's go ahead with some other announcements. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9. Tom N5HYP is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East on that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The DARC hosts several nets, Mondays at 7 p.m. First Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's Net, Cooking Net. Come if you want to gather new recipes, share some recipes of your own, or ask a question or share an anecdote of food. On the second Monday is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. On the third Monday, come back for a second helping of Ham Fixin's Net. And as Tony mentioned, on the fourth Monday is GeekNet, this is Ham Radio. And if we have a fifth Monday, it's a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. On Tuesdays is AMSAT East at 8 p.m., Q&As, info, and news for amateur satellites. And on Fridays is Cert City Simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via cert-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5BRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday, Cert City. All are welcome. And Saturdays is the Night of Nets with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. And, of course, at 9 p.m., Skynet. And as Tony mentioned, following Skynet is the Afterglow Movie Net from 10:30 to midnight. And more on that in just a moment. First and third Sundays is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. Daily is the ARRL Net National Traffic System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And as Tony mentioned, following Skynet at 10:30 plus or minus 5 minutes is the Afterglow Movie. And then we gather in the Afterglow Movie Net to discuss it. So we discuss everything from plot and characterization to the film score or any other special effects or any other trivia about the film or any other interesting aspects about the film. And so at this time, I'm going to turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, so he can give us tonight's Afterglow info from KF5 PDS.
Well, thank you, Billy, and this is Tom, KE5ICX again, and here we go with my highly accurate synopses of tonight's movie. Quasar and Luma were new to the flying saucer scene. Theirs wouldn't shift into hyperdrive without crunching the gears, and let's face it, a wood paneling exterior didn't give it much invasion curb appeal. But before you could swear at the broken odometer, the thing flamed out and crashed with great precision to the only place flying saucers always ever crash at, Earth. After a flurry of sparks and flames, our two aliens had another problem. Fluffy, their alien pet, had escaped and was now terrorizing the podunk town they crash-landed in. Join us for an intentionally funny film about the 1950s sci-fi we love to hate, or is it we hate to love, tonight at 10:30 p.m. And yes, it was only an hour long, so if you could sit through an hour, you can sit through anything. Back to you, Billy. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you very much, Tom. This is KFI-PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So this time I will turn the net over to Chaz, KFI-JAK, if you'll give us information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas from KFI-PDS.
Good evening, everyone. I am on Echolink. Usually I'm on radio, but I'm on Echolink tonight. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, June the 28th, because the last one was just last night. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker will be Ian Lauer and Catherine Nation. One's an astrophotographer, one's a painter. Find out which by attending the meeting. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports coming from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. Tonight is the fourth Saturday, and the stargazing is held at Rockwell. Now, I don't know. I'm not in town. I'm 1,100 miles away. So do we have any ham radio operators at the stargazing that would like to give a report? It may be cloudy, it may be clear, but come now with your call sign if you would like to make a report. Not hearing anything, check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5JJ Chaz, sending it back to Billy, KF5PDS.
Thanks very much, Chaz, and hope everything in Ohio is going well. All right, next up is the National Space Society events and activities. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Bill, N5DB, to give our news about National Space Society, KFI-PDS. I think I heard him check in. So I'll go ahead and just give some information. There's National Space Society of North Texas has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access. You'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. Next up is discussion topic of the evening. So for my topic, I've chosen an article written by Jennifer Husen for News Channel 8. This is on WFLA.com. This was posted April 8th, 2024. 5 of the rarest astronomical events and when you'll next see them. Looking to the sky to make sense of the world around us for thousands of years, ancient cave paintings seem to show humans began using the stars to keep track of time as early as 40,000 years ago. Archaeological evidence also indicates astronomy was one of the first natural sciences developed by many ancient civilizations. Based on the earliest recorded history, humans have long tried to assign scientific, philosophical, and spiritual meaning to the movement of stars and planets. Alongside the development of astronomical knowledge was the belief held by many ancient cultures that celestial bodies controlled and predicted happenings on Earth, forming the origins of astrology. Even in the fast-paced, tech-driven world of 2024, many of us still love gazing at the night sky. Astrology, long since discredited as pseudoscience, has nonetheless maintained a position of mystical importance for many trying to make sense of the world around them. Astrology has also become a massive industry with a market size value at $12.8 billion in 2021, a number that is projected to nearly double by 2031. Astronomy and astrology have remained sources of fascination and inspiration to humans today. References to astronomical bodies and anomalies are ubiquitous in every part of popular culture and media. If you spend enough time in a mall or grocery store, you'll probably hear a classic like Total Eclipse of the Heart or Fly Me to the Moon. Visions of the night sky are also prominently featured in art and have been for a long time. The 11th century Bayeux Tapestry depicts the Battle of Hastings and includes one of the first known illustrations of Halley's Comet. Medieval and Renaissance art was also heavily influenced by ruminations on the cosmos. Some astronomical events, like full moons or shooting stars, are commonplace. Others are so rare that they may never occur in your lifespan or even in your children's. Stacker consulted scientific articles and news reports to discover 5 of the rarest astronomical events and when they'll occur next. Planets in the same sky. You've probably watched action movies where all 8 planets align, but this is virtually impossible based on the currently accepted laws of physics. According to experts, all 8 planets only line up within 1 degree every 13.4 trillion years. Since scientists think our solar system has only formed around 4.6 billion years ago, and roughly 5 billion years from now our sun will collapse under its own mass, this phenomenon will likely never occur. No inhabitants of this solar system will ever see all the same 180-degree wide patch of the night sky. This event is predicted to occur on May 6, 2492. For those who can't quite wait that long, 5 planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, will appear in the same part of the sky in 2040. Transit of Earth. In astronomical terms, a planetary transit occurs when a planet passes before the sun. On Earth, can't see an Earth transit, although from our vantage point, Mars appears uniformly illuminated by the sun during an Earth transit. To observe this phenomenon from Mars, however, Earth would look like a tiny black dot on the face of the sun. Depending on the moon's location in its orbit, you may see it as an even smaller black speck next to Earth. Earth transits as seen from Mars typically occur in intervals of 25 to 100 years. The last transit took place on May 11, 1984, and the next one is scheduled for November 10, 2084. Comets. Comets are large formations of ice and dust orbiting the sun that appear as bright objects with a characteristic long streaking tail. They are actually remnants from when the solar system was formed 6 billion years ago. Records show that humans have been observing Halley's Comet for over 2,000 years. It's named after British astronomer Edmund Halley, who realized that comets viewed in 1531, 1607, and 1682 were likely sightings of the same comet making repeat trips by Earth. He also correctly predicted the comet would reappear in 1708, years after his own death. Halley's discovery was the first to prove comets could make periodic return visits to our night sky, disproving the idea that all comets only move through our solar system once. This comet appears in our night sky roughly every 76 years. This comet last passed by Earth in 1986 and is to return sometime in 2061. Meteor precession. Meteors, also known as shooting stars, are space rocks that enter a planet's atmosphere at very high speeds and rapidly burn up. For most nights, you can usually see a few meteors every hour or so, but when this amount increases greatly, the event is called a meteor shower. Seeing a or meteor shower can be awe-inspiring, but on February 9, 1913, some people were lucky enough to witness a meteor procession, an event scientists still can't fully explain. Unlike regular meteors, which seem to fall from the sky towards Earth's surface, meteors in the 1913 meteor procession traveled in successive groups parallel to the horizon, seemingly streaking across the night sky. According to historical records, the meteor procession lasted several minutes. Making the event even more spectacular is the fact that it may have traveled more than a quarter of the way around the entire world. Based on evidence from ships' meteorological logbooks and first-hand accounts, the track of the procession may have extended more than clear when, if ever, a meteor procession will occur again. The supermoon. A blue supermoon, otherwise known as a super blue moon, is the culmination of astronomical events. A full moon, a supermoon, and a blue moon. We already know what a full moon is, but a supermoon is a moon both full and near or at the place in its orbit when it's closest to Earth, making it appear larger in the sky. Supermoons typically occur 3 to 4 times a year. The moon is usually full once during its 29.5-day phase cycle, or 12 full moons every 354 days. As this doesn't align with our 360-day calendar year, there is a full moon twice in the same month, roughly every 2.5 years. The term blue moon refers to the all within 1 month. The supermoons are supermoons that are also the second full moon to occur within 1 month. While blue supermoons don't follow a regular schedule, they occur every 10 years on average. NASA predicts the next blue supermoons will happen in a pair sometime in January and March 2037. Here you have some astronomical events that you can look forward to. Some are out of the range of our lifetime and our children's lifetime, but who knows, some people may be able to see Earth transit from Mars one day and report back to Earth, and we could even see, maybe in the equivalent of future YouTube. So it'll be interesting to see what we can see at the time and what our future children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and our future family members will be able to see. Seeing astronomical events always happening and they'll in the future. So let's look forward to those events. So anyways, I just wanted to maybe throw out a question. Has anybody ever seen a transit? I've seen a Venus transit and a Mercury transit. If anybody wants to report on a transit that they've seen or any other astronomical event that they found really interesting, aside from the most recent full solar eclipse, we've all talked about that, but are there any other phenomenon that you've seen that you would like to? If so, please come now with your call sign. Sorry if I put anybody on the spot. If you want to check in later and maybe report think, or maybe you've seen so many you can't pick one. But if so, if you'd like to share, just recheck anytime during the net, and I'll be glad to squeeze in. And remarkable. All right, next up is Was Up. Is this time, let's do a check-in round. I'm going to throw the net back over to Tom, KE. Do a check-in round, and then you have my permission to turn for his Was Up segment. So this is to you, Tom, KE5ICX from.
Okay, thank you, Billy. And you may want to do a little, increase your volume just a little bit. You're cutting out a little bit, and since it's box controlled, it'll drop off, so you might want to do that. And I do want to mention, I was going to wait until time for check-in time anyway. Yeah, I did see transit Venus several years ago, and then I guess it happened, 21 months later or something, and the second transit of it. That was pretty cool. First time was when I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I went up to the Tulsa Air and Space Museum. They had a nice setup with the local astronomy club there, and saw it there. And then whatever it was, 2 years later, I guess, or 21 months later, something like that, I saw it here in Dallas in my own backyard. Watched it. I thought it was pretty cool, and I think a lot of people here did see that. That was really amazing. Okay, I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha Uniform, David in Mesquite.
Okay, we picked up one more, KI5UAU, David, over in Mesquite. Okay, next up would be Chaz with What's Up. Chaz, KI5JHA, What's Up?
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA, and we call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. That was slide number 1. Slide master, slide number, that was slide 2. Slide master, slide number 3, please. On May the 23rd was the date of full moon. So the current phase of the moon is a waning given. On May the 30th is the third quarter phase of the moon. On June the 2nd, the moon is at perigee, which is the point the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth, at a distance of 368,100. June the 14th is the first quarter phase of the moon. Also on June the 14th, the moon is at its apogee, which is the point the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 404,077 kilometers. I'm going to go back to Tom and ask him if my audio is okay on Echolink. Since I don't normally transmit on Echolink, how's it going, Tom?
Jazz, you're fine. Just trudge on, please.
I just wanted to check my audio. I hadn't checked it through Echolink for a while. All right, slide number 4, thank you. And Tom's the slide master, by the way, too. Slide 4, on May the 27th in the southern morning sky, the moon and the minor planet Ceres will be in conjunction. A pair of binoculars will be needed to see the minor planet Ceres. Also, good star map on our computer software would be useful as well. I use the computer software called Constellation, and it's free. All right, slide master, slide number 5. On May the 30th, on May 31st is when Saturn and the moon will be, will not only be in conjunction, about 1.5 degrees in the sky, and that's around 5 a.m. Slide master, slide number 6. Also on May 31st, around 6 a.m. in the southeastern sky. In very strong twilight, Mercury and the planet Uranus will be in conjunction, and they'll be about 1.5 degrees apart. Jupiter and the Pleiades are not too far away. We're going to get into some other things happening in the morning sky in just a moment or two. Master, slide number 7, please. On June the 1st, in the early morning sky, Neptune and the moon will be in conjunction. Slide master, slide number 8. And on June the 2nd, the moon and Mars are in conjunction in the morning sky. This is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 9, please. Kelly, I think those lights that were on the asteroid series turned out to be highly reflective. I don't remember what they turned out to be. But they weren't lights on series. Okay. Oh, slide number 9. Our net control. Billy, I'm going to have to disagree with you on the 5 rarest things. There's something that's going to be happening on June 3rd that's not that rare. And yet, it's going to be what I call a grand alignment. So on June the 3rd, there's what I call the grand alignment at around 5:45 a.m. It's in very strong twilight. You can see all of the solar system planets in the same sky except Venus. Now looking very low in the east, northeastern sky, you can find Jupiter with Mercury just to the upper right. To the right and higher, the planet Uranus can be found and located. Much further to the right and higher in the sky is the moon. To the right of the moon and a little bit higher is Mars. Then you jump to the right and higher, you can find Neptune. And then above Neptune and to the right is Saturn. Now, alignments like this don't happen that often, but they're not all that rare either. You can start looking a day or two earlier than June the 3rd, and you can try it even a day or two later. But remember, this is strong twilight, so you probably need a binocular, especially to find Jupiter and Mercury low in the sky. So that's kind of interesting. Slide Master, slide number 10, please. On June the 4th, the moon and the planet Uranus will be in conjunction in the early morning sky. Slide 11, on June the 5th, the moon, Jupiter, Mercury, and the star cluster, the Pleiades, will be in conjunction. But again, this is going to be a very strong twilight, so I suggest using a pair of binoculars. And hopefully you have a very low horizon in the eastern part of the sky. This is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 12, please. I'm laughing at things over on Echolink. You just got to be on Echolink to understand the full scope of Skynet. Oh, slide number 12. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of this information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Okay, don't hear anything, so as the moon wanes, so do these words for the segment of Skynet: stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live right now. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment of Skynet. Just keep looking up so you know what's up. This is KF5, JJ, back to our net control. It's up to you, Billy. KF5, PDS.
Chaz, and yes, looking forward to that grand alignment. That's always something spectacular to look for when you see multiple. And it was really cool during the eclipse to be able to see some planets in the sky after the sun went into totality. So that was really cool to see. So looking forward to that for sure. All right, next up is space exploration and space history. This time I will turn the net over to Brenda, WB5OZL. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB5OZL. In space exploration news, NASA spacecraft found a dead robot on Mars surface. What is it and to what mission does it belong? The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has been looking down at the surface of the red planet for almost 20 years. It is looking for the existence of water as well as providing support for other NASA missions. It's a key data relay station. Earlier this month, it caught sight of another robot in the U.S. Space Agency sent to the surface of Mars in 2018, but has ceased to function. Despite being dead, it is still proving useful for studying Mars, as NASA explained. The lander in question was NASA's InSight, which was sent to the red planet to study the interior of Mars. It was designed to take the planet's vital signs, its poles, temperature, its reflexes, explains the U.S. Space Agency. Its landing site is near Mars's equator on a flat, smooth plain called Elysium Planitia. The craft deposited a seismometer on the surface to study Mars quakes, recording over 1,300, including one that was a magnitude 4.7 in May 2022. InSight also drove a thermometer deep into the red planet to measure Mars's temperature. Additionally, it provided a daily weather report from the planet humans hope to one day visit in person. It operated for 4 years until it ran out of power in 2022. Unlike the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers, which are nuclear powered and still operating on Mars, InSight was powered by solar panels. The built-up dust on them eventually degraded their effectiveness at recharging the craft's batteries. However, it is still sitting around on the surface, literally collecting dust. By studying InSight's landing site over time, scientists can see how quickly dust accumulates, which helps estimate the age of other surface disturbances. NASA Mars explained in a post on X. They also a picture of InSight that the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter was able to capture from outer space. Next, we may have just witnessed some of the strongest auroras in 500 years. The auroral displays that wowed observers around the world 2 weekends ago, including folks so far south as Florida in the U.S. and Ladakh in northern India, may have been among the strongest such light shows since record-keeping began. With reports of auroras visible to as low as 26 degrees magnetic latitude, this recent storm may compete with some of the lowest latitude auroras on record over the past 5 centuries, though scientists are still assessing this ranking, NASA officials said in a statement. Between May 3rd and 9th, NASA's Dynamics Observatory cataloged 82 notable solar flares spawning from 2 active regions of the Sun. It's 3663 and 3664. These clusters of sunspots grew so complex that they erupted repeatedly during the week. Starting on May 7th, at least 7 coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, charged towards Earth and began storming our planet on May 10th, which is when the strongest auroras were seen. Birthdays. Dick Scobie, May 19th, 1939, flew an STS-41C and STS-51L, which of course was the Challenger disaster. Pierre J. Thuot, May 19th, 1955, STS-36, 49, and 62. David M. Walker, May 20th, 1944, STS-51A, 30, 53, and 69. Thomas Akers, May 20th, 1951, STS-41, 49, 61, and 79. Paul W. Richards, May 20th, 1964, STS-102. Robert C. Springer, May 21st, 1942, STS-29 and 38. Ronald Parisi, May 24th, 1951, STS-35 and 67. And Nathan J. Lindsay, 24th May, 1936, no flights and no photo available. Lastly, John D. Olivas, May 25th, 1965, STS-117 and 128. week in space history. May 25th, 1973, Skylab 2 launches. Skylab 2, also SL2 and SLM-1, was the first crewed mission to Skylab, the first American orbital space station. The mission was launched on an Apollo command and service module by a Saturn 1B rocket on May 25, 1973, and carried NASA astronauts Pete Conrad, Joseph P. Kerwin, and the first medical doctor in space, and Paul J. Weitz to the station. The name Skylab 2 also refers to the vehicle used for that mission. The Skylab 2 mission established a 28-day record for human spaceflight duration. Furthermore, its crew was the first space station occupants to ever return safely to Earth. The only previous space station occupants, the crew of the 1971 Soyuz 2 mission that crewed the Salyut 1 station for 24 days, died upon re-entry due to unexpected cabin depressurization. The crewed Skylab missions are officially designated Skylab 2, 3, and 4. Miscommunication about the numbering resulted in the mission emblems reading Skylab 1, Skylab 2, and Skylab 3, respectively. Apollo 10, May 18th through 26th. It was the fourth human spaceflight in the United States Apollo program and the second to orbit the moon. NASA, the mission's operator, described it as a dress rehearsal for the first moon landing, which was, of course, Apollo 11 2 months later. It was designated an F mission intended to test all spacecraft components and procedures short of actual descent and landing. After the spacecraft reached lunar orbit, astronaut John Young remained in the Command and Service Module, the CSM, while astronauts Thomas Stafford and Gene flew the Apollo Lunar Module, the LM, to within 14.4 kilometers and at 7.8 nautical miles of the lunar surface, the point at which powered descent for landing would begin on a landing mission. After 4 orbits, they rejoined Young in the CSM, and after the CSM completed its 31st orbit of the moon, they returned safely to Earth. The mission's call signs were the names of the Peanuts characters, Charlie Brown for the CSM and Snoopy for the LM, who became Apollo 10's official semi-official mascots. Peanuts creator Charles Schulz also. On a personal note, once when I worked at the Franciscan Flight Museum, I answered the phone and a voice said, "This is General Stafford." I'd love to tell you that I was cool, but no, I went all fangirl. Unfortunately, he passed away on May 18th this year. Ad Astra General. Apollo 7, May 24th, 1962. Astronaut M. Scott Carpenter completed America's second orbital spaceflight during the Mercury Atlas 7 mission. Carpenter flew the mission after doctors grounded the prime crew member, astronaut Donald K. Deke Slayton, due to a minor heart condition. Naming his spacecraft Aurora 7, Carpenter completed 3 orbits of the Earth, conducting several experiments, including photography of the planet. A problem with the spacecraft's attitude and the late firing of its retro rockets during the critical re-entry burn resulted in Aurora 7 splashing down 250 miles off course. Carpenter waited in his life raft for more than an hour before rescue teams recovered him and flew him safely to the prime recovery ship, the USS Intrepid aircraft carrier. And I read about this. Next item, too late to get it in today's script. Today is the anniversary of John F. Kennedy made a speech saying we were going to go to the moon. So it's an important day in moon history. All right, that's all I got. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. This is KF5TDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the BARC Skynet. All right, before we go to our next segment, I would like to ask Tom to do another check-in round over on Echolink that have come on, so they may want to check in. So I will return the net to Tom, KE5ICX. The net is yours for check-in round, and then you have my permission to turn the net over again to Chaz for his next segment. So this is the KE5ICX from KF5TDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is KE5ICX. I'll take over air check-ins now, and then I'll go to Echolink. Over air, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, Echolink check-in, please come now. Okay, well, I see I've got Huey at KF5PLL. He's listed on the chat as checking in, and I got N5LIG Dale. I didn't get any audio from over air, but that's okay. That sometimes happens, but I do have you checked in. Okay, let's go back to Chaz, the Lockborn Monster from Ohio. So, Chaz, please go ahead with Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week.
5 on Saturday night from downtown Lockport, Ohio. It's Skynet. Mr. Slidemaster, please slide number 14. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 till May of 2019 with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations over Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named the segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Virgo, the Maiden. Now, I've substituted the word maiden for lady for my jokes of the week, which is the next slide in the slide deck for the video version of Skynet. Slide master, slide number 15, please. I heard a friend say that he loved being married. It was great to find a lady to annoy for the rest of his life. I don't know if that was very funny or not. Lady asked the bank teller to check her balance, so the teller pushed her over. She's balanced. Okay, never mind. Why did the lady fall down the well? She didn't see that well. I gave my seat to the lady on the bus, and the next day I lost my job as the bus driver. Slide master, slide number 16. Let's get me out of these jokes so okay, slide master, slide number 16. Virgo can be seen, it can be easily found by using the Big Dipper. Follow the arc of the handle of the Big Dipper to the star Arcturus, the constellation of Boötes. We've talked about Boötes before. They continue the arc to spy the star Spica. Spica is the brightest star in the constellation of Virgo, but I'm not going to talk about Spica because Virgo is famous for its galaxies. Virgo has so many galaxies that I could speak maybe for a couple of hours describing them, but we're just going to get to a few of them. Slide master, slide number 17. Constellation of Virgo is the center of the closest large at a video version of Skynet. All the little red ellipses you see are galaxies. In other words, they're just the brighter ones. There are literally thousands of galaxies in this area. In some cases, it is difficult to move a whole telescopic field of view without seeing several galaxies. A good star atlas is a must in this region to find and identify all the galaxies visible in the telescope. Of moderate aperture. While I'm only going to be describing some of the galaxies visible in the telescope, there's a lot more than just the brighter members. And I encourage all of you to navigate this area. It would be hard not to improve your observing skills by meeting this challenge head-on by looking at some of these galaxies. With a pair of binoculars away from the city lights, you can see some of them. But it's much better if you take a look at them with much larger instrumentation. Master slide number 18. Charles Messier's object M58 with dimensions of about 5 minutes by 2 minutes. This is one of the larger spiral galaxies in this region. It is spindle in shape, oriented northeast to southwest, and has a broadly concentrated center. There is a relatively bright star nearby to the west. Slide master, slide number 19, please. M61, this galaxy is a face-on spiral, about 6 minutes by 4 minutes in size, oriented north-northeast to south-southwest. It is fairly even in its brightness, except for a stellar nucleus and some faint modeling on its eastern and western side. Slide master, slide number 20. You get two in this field, M84 and M86. These relatively bright galaxies are very similar in appearance and are visible in the same low-power field of view. They are both considered spiral galaxies with no visible arms. M84 is round, about 3 arc-minutes in diameter, and is a large 1 arc-minute diameter core and a nucleus. 86 is larger, about 4 arc-minutes in diameter, but is fainter and also has a stellar nucleus. Slide master, slide number 21. M87 is a very bright galaxy, about 4 arc-minutes in diameter, with a large core and a non-stellar nucleus. It is an elliptical galaxy, which are usually the largest galaxies in our universe. Slide master, slide number 22. M104 is the Sombrero galaxy. I'd say this is the best object for the last. This is one of the finest showpiece objects in the sky. This beautiful edge-on galaxy is 10 arc-minutes by 2 arc-minutes, oriented east to west, and is an obvious central bulb with a distinct dark lane running the length of the galaxy. This is why the object is called the Sombrero galaxy, which is like a hat. That's this object. KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 23, please. There's a lot more Astronomical League observing program objects. Some of those objects, the Astronomical League has at last count, I heard this last night from one of the Astronomical League representatives, 74 different observing programs. And there's several segments within many of those different observing programs, most of which about 100 objects or so. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year from the Astronomical League. Slide master, slide number 24, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Virgo the Maiden. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson, Dennis Harwell for their research, words on deep sky objects, but I've used Spiral and Steel for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. So next week we'll take a look at Libra the Scales. Now, for the next couple of weeks, I'll be at the West Texas Star Party, so someone's going to have to imitate Chaz for the next 2 weeks on Skynet. And the West Texas Star Party in West Texas, there's very little internet access and very little telephone access. So I wish everyone well, and 73. Back to you, Billy. This is KF5JJ. Back to you, KF5.
Chaz, yeah, this is KF5TDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. And Tom, I just wanted to make sure you also picked up on Echo Link Parker W1ZRN. I was over there on Echo Link. Also just want to make sure that you got him checked in. So next up, Tom, is your segment for space launches for this week. So this time I will turn the net over to you. KE5ICX, the net is yours from KF5TDS.
And thank you, Billy. This is KE5ICX. Well, what do we have? We have May 28th, the Falcon 9 launch. SLC-4E at Vandenberg. Falcon 9 rocket will launch the Earth Cloud Aerosol and Radiation Explorer, or Earth CARE, satellite to a sun-synchronous polar orbit at 393-kilometer altitude and inclination of 97 degrees. This is principally a European Space Agency mission, but is developed in cooperation with the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA. It includes 2 passive instruments that observe the atmosphere and 2 active instruments. The spacecraft was designed with a design lifetime of 3 years and is included in a 6-month commissioning phase. On May 30th, we have a Soyuz launch, Progress MS-27 88P, from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The Russian Soyuz 2.1A rocket will launch Progress MS-27 spacecraft to the International Space Station. This will be the 88th Progress vehicle to head up to the orbiting outpost. Then we have a test flight 1 to be determined to date. This will be Pad 1 at Bowen Orbital Spaceport in Kilmore Space in Australia. It is preparing to launch the inaugural flight of its Ares Block 1 rocket. The 3-stage vehicle is 82 feet tall and is equipped with a 4.9-foot diameter payload fairing. The rocket is designed to send up 305 kilograms into low Earth orbit. This first mission, called Test Flight 1, does not appear to have a payload on board. And it's time for the latest update on the CST-100 Starliner. June 1st now is the date that they are projecting. This will launch from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, designated AV-085, will launch, hopefully, Boeing's CST-100 Starliner spacecraft on its first mission with astronauts, known as Crew Test Flight, to the International Space Station. The capsule will dock with the space station, then return to Earth to landing in the western United States. NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams will fly on the mission. The rocket will fly in a vehicle configuration with 2 solid rocket boosters and a dual-engine Centaur upper stage. In June, there'll be a launch from Pad 1S at Vostochny Cosmodrome. The Russian Soyuz rocket will launch the Condor Experimental SAR spacecraft FKA-2 satellite to sun-synchronous orbit at 512-kilometer altitude and inclination of 97 degrees. The mission is roughly a 5-year lifespan, is being launched on behalf of NPO. I'm not even going to try and pronounce what that says. It's a big, long Russian word. Next up, Long March 2C launch from Shishing Satellite Launch Center on June 24th in the People's Republic of China. The Long March 2C rocket will launch the Space-Based Multi-Band Astronomical Variable Objects Monitor SBOM spacecraft. The satellite is a dual Franco-Chinese mission and is dedicated to the study of the most distant explosions of stars, the gamma-ray burst. There are 4 main instruments on board, 2 which are French and 2 that are Chinese. The spacecraft will be launched in the 625-kilometer Earth orbit and will operate for at least 3 years with an option to extend for another 2 years beyond that. June 25th will be a launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy. A SpaceX Falcon Heavy will launch the fourth and final satellite of the next generation of geostationary weather satellites from NASA and NOAA. GOES-U will orbit 22,300 miles above the equator to monitor weather conditions across the United States. Then we have in the summer, sometime, Polaris Dawn will launch. This is from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch a Crew Dragon spacecraft. Polaris Dawn mission will be commanded by billionaire Jared Isaacman, making his second trip into space. He will be joined on the all-private mission by pilot Scott Kidd Poteet and SpaceX employees Sarah Gillis and Anna Mena. The Crew Dragon will return to a splashdown at sea. And that's it. That's all I got. Back to you, Miss Billy from KE5ICX.
Thanks, Tom. All right, next up is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I will return the net to Brenda, WV5OZL. The net is yours from KF5PBS.
This is WV5OZL. Name's Brenda, and the title of this article is Birth of Universe's Earliest Galaxies Observed for the First Time. Using the James Webb Space Telescope, University of Copenhagen researchers have become the first to see the formation of three of the earliest galaxies in the universe more than 13 billion years ago. This sensational discovery contributes important knowledge to the universe and is now published in the journal Science. For the first time in the history of astronomy, researchers at the Niels Bohr Institute have witnessed the birth of three of the universe's absolute earliest galaxies, somewhere between 13.3 and 13.4 billion years ago. The discovery was made using the James Webb Space Telescope, which brought the first live observations of formative galaxies down to us here on Earth. Through the telescope, researchers were able to see signals from large mini galaxy in the process of being built. While this is how galaxies are formed according to theories in computer simulations, it has never actually been witnessed. You could say that these are the first direct images of galaxy formation that we've ever seen, whereas the James Webb has previously shown us early galaxies at later stages of evolution. Here we witness their very birth, and thus the construction of the first star systems in the universe, says Assistant Professor Casper Elm Heinz from the Niels Bohr Institute, who led this new study. The researchers estimate the birth of the three galaxies to have occurred roughly 400 to 600 million years after the Big Bang, the explosion that began it all. While that sounds like a long time, it corresponds to galaxies forming during the first 3 to 4% of the universe's 13.8 billion year overall lifetime. Shortly after the Big Bang, the universe was an enormous opaque gas of hydrogen atoms, unlike today, where the night sky is speckled with a blanket of well-defined stars. During the few hundred million years after the Big Bang, the first stars formed before stars and gas begin to coalesce into galaxies. This is the process that we see the beginning of in our observations, explains Associate Professor Derek Watson. The birth of galaxies took place at a time in the history of the universe known as the Epoch of Reionization, when the energy and light from some of the first galaxies broke through the mist of hydrogen gas. It is precisely these large amounts of hydrogen gas the researchers captured using the James Webb Space Telescope's infrared vision. This is the most distant measurement of the cold neutral hydrogen gas, which is the building block of the stars and galaxies, discovered by scientific researchers to date. The study was conducted by Casper Elm Heinz in close collaboration with, among others, research colleagues Derek Watson, Gabrielle Brammer, and PhD student Simone Weilgard from the Cosmic Dawn Center at the University of Copenhagen's Niels Bohr Institute. a center whose stated goal is to investigate and understand the dawn of the universe. This latest result brings them much closer to doing just that. The research team has already applied for more observation team with the James Webb Space Telescope with hopes of expanding upon their new research and learning more about the earliest epoch in the formation of galaxies. For now, this is about mapping our new observations of galaxies being formed in even greater detail than before. At the same time, we are constantly trying to push the limit of how far out into the universe we can see, so perhaps we'll reach even further, says Simone Wellgard. According to the researcher, the new knowledge contributes to answering one of humanity's most basic questions. One of the fundamental questions that we humans have always asked is, where do we come from? Here, we piece together a bit more of the answer by shedding light on the moment that some of the universe's first structures were created. It is a process that we'll investigate further until hopefully we're able to fit even more pieces of the puzzle together, concludes Associate Professor Gabriel Brammer. Researchers were able to measure the formation of the universe's first galaxy by using sophisticated models of how light from these galaxies were absorbed by the neutral gas located in and around them. This transition team is known as the Lyman alpha transition. By measuring the light, thus researchers were able to distinguish gas from the newly formed galaxies from other gas. These measurements were only possible thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope's incredibly sensitive infrared spectrograph capabilities. The universe began its life about 13.8 billion years ago in an enormous explosion, the Big Bang. The event gave rise to an abundance of subatomic particles such as quarks and electrons. These particles aggregated to form protons and neutrons, which later coalesced into atomic nuclei. Roughly 380,000 years after the Big Bang, electrons began to orbit atomic nuclei, and the simplest atoms of the universe gradually formed. The first stars were formed after a few hundred million years, and within the hearts of these stars, larger and more complex atoms that we have around us were formed. Later, stars coalesced into galaxies. The oldest galaxies known to us were formed about 300 to 400 million years after the Big Bang. Our own solar system came into being about 4.6 billion years ago, more than 9 billion years after the Big Bang. From ScienceDaily.com, back to net, WB50ZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. I see over on the chat that Chaz, KF5JHA, has a recheck. Chaz, what do you have for us for the net?
Those of you that are not viewers of spaceweather.com, you need to do that probably daily, but today, spaceweather.com about the electrification of the surface of the Earth due to the CMEs that happened earlier in May. It has a map of the United States showing which parts of the United States were electrified more. The eastern coast, that's the place that got to see the auroras first. The west coast didn't see them very well, but it's a well worth reading that they have in spaceweather.com. Also, another thing you should look at on a daily basis is the astronomy picture of the day. This is KF5, JHK, back to net control. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chaz. All right, next up is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. So at this time, I will return the net to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll give us the flight report from KFIC.
Thank you, Miss Billy. This is KE5ICX. Well, we're getting some more favorable but not super great passes to the International Space Station, but here are a few that are pretty good. We have on May 25th at minus 1.1 magnitude. Let's see here. Yeah, I did pick the 25th. Minus 1.1 magnitude at 2317. Out of the northwest, reaches highest point at 20 degrees at 2318, and will fall 2318 to the northwest. So it goes into shadow. May 28th, a little better pass. This one's minus 3.4 magnitude. This is at 2226 to the northwest. Reaches highest point at 56 degrees at 2229, and then it goes into shadow. Then we have on May 29th at minus 3.7 magnitude. This is at 2136 out of the northwest. Reaches its highest point at 65 degrees at 2140, and then it actually gets across the sky this time at 2141 to the east-southeast is where it falls. Then May 31st, minus 2.6 magnitude, 2133 out of the west-northwest, reaches its highest point at 34 degrees at 2136, and it falls to the south at 2139. The Tiangong Space Station has two passes. They're pretty good. June 1st is minus 2, reaches highest point at 548 and 65 degrees. It'll fall to the south-southwest at 551. June 2nd, minus 1.6 magnitude, 441 in the morning out of the northwest. Reaches its highest point at 444 at 57 degrees, and it'll fall to the north-northeast at 447. And then lastly, the Hubble Space Telescope has a pass on May 28th. This will be 1.0 magnitude, 2204 in the evening out of the west-southwest. It'll reach its highest point at 2208 at 42 degrees south, and it'll fall to the south-southeast at 2208. Following evening, May 29th, 1.1 magnitude at 2145 out of the west-southwest of Indiana. It'll reach its highest point at 2149 in the south, and it will fall to the southeast at 2151. Then on May 30th, we have a pass of 1.2 magnitude at 2126 out of the west-southwest yet again. It'll reach its highest point at 2130 at 43 degrees in the south again, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 2133. And that's it, Miss Billy. If you'd like me to do final check-ins, I could do that.
We have some time. I was going to see if anybody had any questions. We do have some time for astronomical Q&A, and yes, I'll ask you to do a final check-in round. If anybody has any questions. Is there anybody on frequency that has an astronomical question? We have knowledgeable folks standing by. So if you have an astronomical question for our educated panel here, come now with your call sign.
This is Alpha India 5, Quebec Echo.
India 5, Quebec Echo. Can you give us your name and location? Welcome to the net.
Yeah, sure. This is Bob. I'm in Uptown. And the question is, I'm interested in EME, and I don't know if this is the right forum for this, and you can tell me if it's not. But I was on a 20-meter net recently, and the guy that answered the net said that he did a EME and on his balcony, and it intrigued me. Is there a website or somewhere I can go to figure out how I can get the right handheld antenna and EME? And then the question is, can you do a voice EME, or is it just got to be a real simple digital? I mean, what do you get back when you do an EME? Over.
That's a great question, Bob. And actually, for Moon Day, I haven't announced it yet, but I'm planning to do an intro to EME communication. I'm interested in it as well. I've never actually done one. but I'm going to do that as my talk for Moon Day. So there are a lot of websites that you can go to. I'm in the process of researching it as well. But if there's anybody on frequency that has done an EME communication, please feel free to answer Bob and let him know if you have any particular websites that you like to go to for information, especially about antennas. So anyone on frequency with information on EME, Earth, Moon, Earth, please come down with your call sign. I'm not hearing anybody, Bob, but I was just doing a quick Google search, and on QSL.net there is a beginner guide to small station EME. You might check that out and see if that has what you need. And there's also on the ARRL.org, there's a weak signal, a VHF-DX, scatter, and EME moon bounce. So there's a lot of articles, and there's also a lot of videos on YouTube how to get started with EME. So I wish you best of luck with that, and I'll be doing that. I'm also new to that, but I'm interested in it as well. So you might want to come to my talk on July 20th to Moon Day at Frontiers of Flight Museum if you're able to learn more, and I'll learn more in the process of putting my talk together. So thanks for the great question. Are there any other questions for this evening's net? If so, please come down.
Whiskey 5, Golf Uniform, Sierra.
U.S. Gus, what question do you have for this evening's net?
Well, thank you, Billy. It's not really a question, but you started the net with asking about some astronomical things that people have seen. I haven't seen this, but there's a photo in the, no human has seen this live, but in the March Scientific American, March of this year, there's a photograph taken from the moon. You might remember several months ago there was a Japanese company that landed, that circled the moon. They were going to land a lander. So the lander was destroyed. It did not have a soft landing, I don't think. So anyway, it was destroyed, but the part that was still orbiting the moon, the orbiter, took a picture of the Earth from its orbit on the moon, and it's kind of standard, looks pretty much like the picture that the astronauts took with the moon in the foreground and the beautiful blue and white Earth in the far distance. But the thing is different about this picture. There was a solar eclipse, you might remember, a few months ago, and that happened while this orbiter took this picture. So you see the beautiful Earth in the distance and the really gray moon in the foreground. But break. You can see the kind of a dark mass there. That's Australia, and see another dark mass. It's Asia. And between the two, that's where the total eclipse was. You can see a shadow of the moon's shadow right there. Very interesting perspective. The article goes on to question, what do you call that? If you see it from the Earth, it's a total solar eclipse. If you see the moon can eclipse, but what do you call it when you can see the, in this case, Earth? Break. So the question is at the end of the article, what do we call that thing? Is it from the moon? Is it terrestrial eclipse? Or anyway, and it also ends up saying we'll have to save that naming of what that is. That phenomena is maybe from the first humans that see it on Earth, on the moon, from the moon, instead of just the photograph. Thought that was pretty interesting view. It's in the March 2024 Scientific American. Beautiful picture. Back to net W5GUS.
Great, thanks for sharing, Gus. And I look forward to looking that up in Scientific American. Chaz, KF5JHA has an answer to that question. So, Chaz, go ahead with your information for Gus.
I'm sorry, I missed that article. That sounds a fascinating article. By the way, we've already named it. We get to see the moons of Jupiter cast shadows on the cloud tops of Jupiter on a regular basis. So we just call them the transits of the shadows across the surface of, I should say, the cloud tops of Jupiter. So it would probably be called a transit, which is different than a transit of a planet across the face of the sun. But anyway, that's what they call it on the Jupiter itself, and the moon those going across the surface. So maybe it's a transit. That's an idea. This is KF5JHA.
Chaz. All right. At this time, I'm going to call on Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do a final check-in round and get me a final count for this evening's net, then we'll close it out. So this is the KE5ICX from KF5TDS.
Yeah, thank you, Billy. I just wanted to make an announcement. One of the regular folks who, actually has done Afterglow, but sent me a little chat message here just now and mentioned there is a website and there is a group, NASA on the Air, NOTA.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow will be NASA. And it involves all the different research centers across the United States. Call signs are included, by the way. And they are commemorating years of activities that were done at various centers. And there is right now, I guess, some sort of a contest thing. Let me tell you where the website is, and you can find it yourself. It's nasaontheair.wordpress.com. Just type that in. In fact, let me put it up on the little video screen. I forgot to do that. It talks about all the events that are going on. And there is one this week, of course. We mentioned Apollo 10, mission to the moon, critical test flight around the moon. They are recognizing it as the 55th anniversary. Today and tomorrow are the last days to make contact. Now, they don't give a lot of information on how they make the contacts, but go to the website, since I just found it and just learned of it. There may be some details hidden away there. There'll be at least two more, one in July and one in November, from Neil for 55 years for the Apollo 11 mission, and 35 years for the Comb Background Explorer launch that was done in 1989. So there's three events that are still planned for 2024. Check the website out. It looks kind of interesting. nasaontheair.wordpress.com for additional information. And this is KE5ICX. I will take additional check-in. This will be last call. If you want to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Last call. Okay, no one else. Miss Billy, we have 22 check-ins this evening. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Golf 5, Julie up with 5 uniform. Anthony from Benbrook on Echo Link.
Okay, I got KG5 JPU, Anthony in Pembroke. I think that's the guy who sent me the info. Back to you, Miss Billy.
That final check-in, we had 23 hams participating on the air, so thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until tonight, this is KF5TDS Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:32 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And in about 5 minutes, it came from somewhere, the Afterglow Movie Net from 2022 movie discussion. So stay tuned for that. All right, 7-3, everybody.
And thank you, Miss Billy. And she is right. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Give yourself some time, go refresh, powder your noses, get something to eat, and come back for another hour and a half of fun, frolic, or maybe not. From our fine film, it came from somewhere from 2022. Where? We're not sure. 5 minutes. See you then. time for the final net of the evening. This one's the Afterglow movie net. You get assigned a movie, you got to watch the movie, then you got to talk about the movie. And it's now time for part 3. Got to talk about the movie. So this week's movie is an unusual, low-budget, tomato meter approved film from Rotten Tomatoes. It says, at any rate.
Tom, just FYI, something horrible happened and you dropped out there and we heard almost nothing. NT5TM.
KJ5 EYK. I think Quasar got him. Yeah, 5QE. I think we got everybody except Tom.
Okay, well, I had to go back to a backup radio. I just stopped transmitting. I'm not sure what's wrong with the other radio. So we'll work off the backup radio. Along the way, we meet Betty, Paige, Bourne, her boyfriend Don, Rita, Patty, Dolores, Marie, and an absolutely delightful Mary. That's what this guy says. Original music by Tony Parsons captures the vibes that we all want. You know those vibes. Co-direction by Ashley Heffer and Steve Herman seem to know exactly what they're going for, and they absolutely get it from their talented ensemble cast. There's one difference between this film and your average 50s low-budget sci-fi. It's precisely that this ensemble cast is mighty talented. Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, it says it clocks in at a mighty 60 minutes running time, fairly consistent with a good majority of these films from the 1950s. It is the best film you're going to see this year? Not. It's not trying to be. However, it came from somewhere, offers up a campy, entertaining, stylish 50s-styled sci-fi thriller that's an awful lot of fun from beginning to end if you get a chance. You can check it out for yourself. That was written by Richard Probst. He is a small film, so it didn't even register with a wiki. So there you have it. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see this week's movie? It came from somewhere from 2022. So let's go.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. Really glad the backup radio worked, and I did see the movie.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Dallas, and yes, I saw the movie.
KJ5, EYK, Alex and Ellen. That movie, I loved it. It changed my life.
Alpha India 5, Quebec Echo, and yes, I saw the movie in Uptown.
Fine film.
Alpha India 5, Quebec Echo, I saw the movie in Uptown.
All right, very good. Oh, I may have found my problem with the other radio. I may switch back here in a second. Let me get the check-ins. I got NT5TF Tony in Dallas. Yep, he saw the movie. K0FER Chris in Dallas. Yeah, he saw it. KJ5EYK Alex in Allen. Yes, he saw the film. AI5QE Bob in Uptown. Welcome, Bob. I have you as seen the movie. WB50ZL, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, she saw the movie. Additional check-ins, please come now. Nope, there's still a problem with the radio. Well, let me just turn that baby off and give it a rest, and hopefully it'll work later. Okay, well, our first round is talking about the plot and what you thought of it. So I'll go down the list in order, starting with Tony, because he's always the brave one when he's here. He always checks in first. A lucky devil. So NT5TM, Tony, what did you think about the plot for our fine film? It came from somewhere from 2022.
Okay, well, the official plot, the overt plot, was, of course, awful and predictable. Oh, a flying saucer suffers some random difficulties because of those F-86 Sabres. I've always wished I could fly an F-86. But, you know, I'm not a pilot, so that kind of gets in the way of that. And then they engage in various sort of menacing things against various teenagers. And, of course, the teenagers eventually manage to save the day one way or another in a very predictable fashion. I mean, it was pretty awful. But yet... this movie really had two plots. Of course, one was the official plot. Oh, look, we know how B movies go. But then there was the covert plot about just how much fun it is to make a B movie. Here, I don't know where people saw this in Uptown, but I wish I'd been there. I think of student films I helped other people work on because, yes, I majored in molecular biology, but I loved hanging out with the college students, so I kept volunteering for things. And, yeah, it's just so much fun. Why do we go to field day? Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hard work with your fellow nerds is fun. and that was the real plot of this movie. Even with the fake scream, everyone practicing their scream audition at the end. This movie was really about how much fun it is to make a low-budget movie, and on that point, the plot was a complete success. NT5TM.
Oh, Tony, I think you hit the nail on the head. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right. That's really what the movie was all about. And it certainly looked like all 300 people that were in this film were having a good time. Thanks for that. A whole new view of what I was watching. Thanks. May change my overall opinion of the film. But next is Alex, KG5EYK. Alex. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the wrong list. Next is K0FER. That's Chris in Dallas. Chris, your thoughts on the plot from KE5ICX.
I think Tony hit the nail on the head as well. It was just a bunch of people having a heck of a time, leaning into how silly and stupid they could be for the camera. There were times that I literally cracked up, like when the girl screamed and kind of melodramatically fell against her bed. And just, man, they were having so much fun. And in that sense, yeah, it was really enjoyable to watch people just play. They weren't taking it seriously. Nothing about this was high art. It was just people having fun. And, that was enough for me. K0FER.
All right, thank you, Chris. Next up is Alex, KJ5EYK. Alex, you are next now. You saw the film. What did you think about the plot?
I thought the plot was awesome. Yes, everybody knew it was this typical scripted plot, but I think everybody kind of saw through that in the sense that these people had a ball. I wanted to be on that film. They had an absolute screamer of a time, and it was just how bad it could be. I loved everything about it. The plot was great. The plot really was about people making a bad B movie. From the very beginning, the quote from Ed Wood, I mean, you knew it was going to be good from that point. So, yeah, my hat's off to him for what it was. It was absolutely, positively clear that they in no way took themselves too seriously. They knew what they were doing, and they had a ball. So, yeah, I liked it.
All right, thank you, Alex. I think you're done. Whenever you're done, just give your call sign out. Then we know you're finished. If you got more to go, go. By all means.
No, I'm sorry. I'm done. KJ5EYK, back to the net.
Thank you. Next up, AI5QE. Bob up in Uptown. You saw the film. What did you think about the plot?
Well, specifically on the plot, I can't add much more than Tony said. I think he nailed it. I enjoyed the movie. I wouldn't watch it again, but I think that it was a movie about making a movie, and I think that what I wonder about is because of my age, I remember watching those movies and loving them, and I wonder if younger people remember or even saw the movies. I mean, that movie was clearly a takeoff of it, and I just wonder if they even know what they missed. I enjoyed it, and like I said, I wouldn't watch it again, but I think they nailed what they were trying to do. And as a guy who's always wanted to make a movie, I think what they did by picking that genre and hitting it, they really knocked it out of the park. So I enjoyed it a lot, AI5QE.
Very good. Thank you, Bob. Next up is Brenda, WV5OZL. Brenda, what did you think about the plot or anything else having to do with that part of the film?
WB5OZL. Oh, yeah, I agree with everybody. It just looked like a whole lot of fun. And I remember when we got our first little 8mm camera, we messed around with it, my brothers and I, and we did dumb stuff like, one of us rode a horse behind the shed and the other one came out from behind it, so it was like magic. It's our little special effects. And we just had a ball doing this, and I've kind of always wanted to make my own movie, and these people were doing that, and they didn't have much of a budget either, so good for them. I thought it was fun. Back to net, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. We're at the bottom of the list. I'll go ahead and ask if there's additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, tonight's movie we're talking about is It Came From Somewhere, a spoof on 1950s science fiction films. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign. There's some folks on Echolink too. I will take those folks as well. I'm sorry, I didn't ask for check-ins for Echo. What are we doing? The Afterglow Movie Net. So let me get those folks as well. So please come now.
W5 bacon lettuce tomato. W5 BLT Bill. Garland, yes, I saw the movie, loved it.
All right, I got WB5BLT, and that's Bill. I know Sean's out there too. I'll ask. He usually checks in on this net. Let's see. He may have stepped away. But let's start with Bill, W5BLT. Bill, what did you think about the plot?
I love the plot. It was a plot that we've seen. It was very simplistic, but it was just fun. I love the 50s and 60s science fiction movies. I grew up with them, growing up in the 70s and 80s. When I was born in 1969, and I just remember them coming on TV, and I loved just kind of the goofiness of them. And so I think they just really nailed it. Yes, the plot was kind of, we've seen it before, where a flying saucer crashes and they're trying to take over the world and wipe out everybody. But it was just fun the way they did it, and it was a lot of fun, just kind of making fun of those films, but in a not malicious way, but just having fun with it, and brought back a lot of good memories from different movies that I'd seen, and so I loved it. The ending you'll have to explain to me. I kind of missed that, being blind. But I will say that it had enough dialogue that I could really follow it. A lot of the newer films now go for so much special effects and action scenes, and there's not a lot of dialogue, and I have a hard time following it. But this one I kind of followed almost right up to the end. I think I know how it ended, but I'm not quite sure. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody if they've already, or have not seen it. But it was a lot of fun watching it, and I enjoyed it, and I will watch it again. It was that much fun for me. Back to you, Tom, W5DLT.
Very good, thank you, Bill. I believe the flying saucer blew up, kind of like with an M80 or something. It's just a kablooey. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Sean, KB9SOK, are you out there? Or anyone else who would like to check in, please come now.
Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo. Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen the movie.
Okay, we got Sean back. KB9SOK. Sean, what'd you think about the plot of our fine film? It came from somewhere from 2022.
This KB9S, okay. Yeah, sorry for the delay there. Echoing being a little finicky. Yeah, I agree with what everybody said. I think, yeah, Tony absolutely nailed it. That should have been the description of the movie. Maybe he ought to do the Wikipedia entry, because that's pretty much dead on. Yeah, it was, it is what it is. I mean, obviously it was, having fun with that style movie from, the past. Even today, a lot of our modern movies still have those same tropes in it. Just done with a lot of special effects now. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I agree with what was said, and I don't know that I'd watch it again, but yeah, wasn't bad. Not a lot to add, unfortunately. It's so simple. Don't really have anything new to add to this one, so. Back to net, KB9S, okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. And I'll add my 2 cents to this. I thought it was cute. Now the plot, it was stolen from everybody, right? They shoot down the flying, or try and shoot down the flying saucer, and the F-86 stock footage, which has been used in those same sci-fi films. I recognize the tail, not the numbers, but the insignias and that I think that actually was used in Plan 9 from Outer Space, if I remember correctly. But other films also use that same stock footage. Some other things about it I thought were interesting is if we go through the credits, you can see there are 10,000 producers and assistant producers. I mean, there's a zillion people. So I think everybody that ended up in the film acting also got a producer and assistant producer credit along the way, so they could put it in their resumes for the Screen Actors Guild and for the Directors Guild of America or something, I think. Well, one of the things that people mentioned I thought was really interesting is it talks about how much fun it is to make films, even the low-budget ones, well, particularly the low-budget ones, because there's people who do all sorts of different things. Not the least of which is bringing cookies and food to the set, wherever the set happens to be, which usually rotates around the city, as it did in this case. Wherever this was made, it was in some old downtown area somewhere. But, yeah, it can be a lot of fun. I made a movie when I was in high school. In fact, tonight's episode of Star Trek, the Doomsday Machine, was what I did a riff on, which I called the Gloomy Day Machine, which involved a giant trash can that was throwing away everything in the universe, stuff that it felt wasn't worth saving, and keep the galaxy clean, And I had a lot of fun with that. The people I did it with were my classmates back in high school and in 8mm, and we had a lot of fun doing that film. I had a great fun time writing this stuff. Those things haven't changed. They still write comics or what passes as comedic stuff all the time. I still enjoy doing that and have a lot of fun with it. So there's that. And everybody, and the Scream auditions, I agree with Tony, that was pretty funny, that everybody's doing their Scream auditions. I'm sure if you can do a good screen, you were cast in the movie. Oh, and the movie plot, I messed that up. I didn't say who it was. Everybody's favorite, the Creeping Terror. The Creeping Terror probably is the closest plot that you'll see. The giant rolled up rugs that escaped from the spaceship when it crashed. They were not the aliens. They were actually the environmental worms or whatever they were that were supposed to test the environment and also like to eat people. Particularly young women seem to be particularly interested in those. And of course, the women had to like push themselves into the giant rolled carpets. This movie was pretty much the same thing, although I think if we were to compare the two films, this one actually had better special effects. That's how bad the creeping terror really was. So anything else about the plot? I think sometimes, too, it kind of went a little long. The dance routines were pretty good, though. Everybody is having fun with that, of course, doing the whole dance routine. But we've seen that, too. What is it? Doggone the 3D movie with the fish. At any rate, they did that, and a whole number in there that went on forever. This one went on forever, too, but it was okay. And boy, did that principal of the school look like a principal from the school. I have a feeling the guy probably was a principal from the school, and he just borrowed a bow tie. Or maybe he wore that bow tie all the time anyway. Who knows? Let's see, anything else I can think of about that was unusual, different, or otherwise to be added in on the plot? Probably not. Okay, I'm going to stop there. We'll move on. I'm not sure what we'll say about the cast of Billions, but maybe we can tease out some interesting aspects to the actors themselves and the characterization. So we'll start with Tony at the top. Tony, anybody stand out with the cast of Millions? NT5TM from KE5ICX.
Oh, yes, in several ways. You know, early in the movie, I really enjoyed that teasing, because the teenagers think we're all going to make a point, and that's very secret, and the old people don't know what we're doing. And the older characters are like, oh yeah, here's a spot with a good view, and they did everything but say, go make us more grandchildren. I thought that was really funny, because every generation thinks they've invented the things that happen at Make God Point, but no, in fact, our grandparents, by definition, were because otherwise they couldn't be our grandparents. My next favorite character, after all the older ones who were scandalizing the young people about Make Up Point, was that plastic skeleton. Oh, man. I mean, a good skeleton is actually very expensive. I don't know if this is a good one or not. But the really good ones are very carefully cast from bone, and because the surgeon has to be able to feel their way along it through gloves and like, oh, here's the spot where that muscle is. So a really good skeleton, whether it's real bone or a cast, is just stunningly expensive. I'm hoping this was not a good one because it had to do so much, so often, in so many scenes. That skeleton, that totally earned its SAG card, let me tell you. And of course, I'm so sorry, I have forgotten her name. The little girl with her little stuffed rabbit, Blueberry, she just fulfilled so many screen cliches. She screamed with the best pose, and I thought she was about to break out laughing. Oh wow, if I had grandkids, I wish she were one of mine. She was just totally awesome. It was just every movie cliche as she teaches Frankenstein's monster to be human and wonders where his other eyes went. Yes, the more regular humans did okay. I mean, everyone had so much fun. No one was bad as a character, but those were my favorites. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Good choices. Next is Chris, K0FER. Chris, your favorite characters, actors from our fine film this evening.
Oh, where to begin? Like Tony said, everybody just really threw themselves into it and enjoyed it. Didn't care about it looking right or whatever. The way that Paige, or Betty, whatever her name was, threw herself into her boyfriend, Don. Oh, Don, it's terrible. Every time something happened. And then she would do it again, even more over the top, which is the way camp should be done, you know. You try to best every time. The little girl, Mary, I mean, she sold everything. There was so much, I don't know if you'll call it homage, but like Tony said, like the Frankenstein illusion with trying to be human. I saw a little bit of Night of the Living Dead and the shambling of the creatures. I think they called them space clops or something like that. You have a little bit of Earth Girls Are Easy with Luma and Patty. Man, just everyone loved it. I loved how she's trying to be a nurse. He's clearly hurting. His side is hurt, and she puts a bandage around his arm on the other side. But it worked.
Okay, I think you're done, Chris. Are you done? Oh, I think we may have lost Chris. K0FER, are you out there? Okay, I suspect he flew off frequency there. He'll be back, I'm sure. Next is KJ5EYK. Alex, your thoughts on characterization, acting, that sort of stuff. Go ahead.
You know, the one standout to me had to be the character Luma. He won the Great Air Award. I cracked up more than once at his costuming. It made it perfect. You know, they were all pretty good, but that was the one real standout for me. And I do like Blueberry the Bunny. That was so young Frankenstein. Okay, KJ5EYK, back to the net.
All right, thank you, Alex. Next up, Bob, AI5QE. Bob, got any favorite characters? What'd you think of the acting?
Well, I thought that I'm somewhat lost on the characters and the actors, but I think it was Paige Bourne who played Betty was good. I think the teenagers were good. I think the older people were not as good. I think that, as has been said, Luma was good. So I'm going to wait till later. There were certain scenes and certain special effects I think that were not as good. But I think the actors in general, the teenagers were pretty good, and that's really all I've got. AI5QE.
An ensemble cast. Okay, next is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts on the cast in general and specifically, or the acting, or the characterization? You know the drill.
Yeah, this is WB50ZL. At one point in the movie, I said to myself, where did they find so many ugly people? And, they were just all kind of average looking. Nobody was especially ugly except Cyclops. And he was pretty bad. Did you notice that there was a gap between his sleeves and the rubber hands? It's very clumsy. Not authentic at all. I actually found the little girl kind of annoying. But I'm not sure why. But she did her job. She made friends with the Cyclops and helped save the day. A lot of the people in this were pretty predictable, as you might expect. But, you know, you're not going to find great acting in a movie like this. I'm sure none of these were real actors. It was just somebody's friend or neighbor or somebody in class or something like that. Okay, WB50ZL, back to net.
Okay, next, W5BLT, Bill. You got a favorite actor or actors from our fine film or characters from KE5ICX?
You know, I like the little girl, Mary, with her blueberry bunny, and the monster. I thought that was a lot of fun. You know, Gremmel didn't sound as old as what I thought Gremmel should sound, but, you know, when you consider these were, you know, there's, you know, maybe in a film class or something, you know, I could go with that. It was, you know, I don't think anybody missed their character. The aliens were bad. The one alien that kept quoting regulations, the specific regulation now that I can't remember, but, you know, that they could, you know, just destroy anybody. It was getting old, you know, after the 10th time. It was still kind of funny because, you know, everybody's getting wiped out. You know, nobody missed their character. I don't think there was for me, I don't think there was a bad actor. Now, visually, I don't know, obviously, but it was just a lot of fun. I mean, they weren't trying, it wasn't like they were trying to take the part seriously. They were just having fun, spoofing the old 50s science fiction movies, and it worked for me. And I think the time was right as well for the characters. I was just going to say, you know, any more than 60 minutes, it would have been overkill. So I thought they did it within that 60-minute time limit. It just was a lot of fun, and I loved the characters. So for me, you know, I don't think anybody missed their mark on the characters. So W5BLT.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Bill. Next is Sean, KB9SOK. Your thoughts on?
This is KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree that the acting obviously wasn't top-notch. Clearly, these were just amateurs, maybe from a local play department at the most, or maybe taking a class, as I think Brenda said. You know, therefore, you know, and then again, this was just meant to be a campy, not serious thing. So I guess you really can't knock them too much for that. You know, obviously, as already talked about, of course, it being kind of a comedy, obviously there's, you know, the characters were just tropes of things we've seen. So yeah, I agree. The repeating of the why she could kill people was starting to get old, but I guess that was part of the joke. I do kind of agree that I thought the little girl was a little bit was starting to get annoying at times, but I think that was intentional. So you know, I agree the skeleton was probably one of the strongest ones in there. Maybe the bunny. So yeah, there's just not a lot to say about this movie, really. It's just the type of movie it was. So yeah, that's all I got. Back to that. KB9SOK.
All right, very good. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and ask for any additional check-ins before I do my 1 cent worth of contribution. Anyone else want to join us? We're talking about tonight's movie, It Came From Somewhere, from 2022, a 1950s-esque spoof of sci-fi movies from the 1950s, of course. Please come with your call now. Okay, well, I'll make my comments here. My favorite characters which, probably are boring, but it would be the 2 aliens, maybe the 3 aliens, because we got Fluffy the dog, Fluffy the alien that's in this thing too. But there's Quasar, where she's shooting everybody. Everybody becomes a skeleton. It's like, I gotta protect, doing the International Galactic Code or whatever. It's say any and everything. It doesn't matter what they say. Even if they gasp, that could be a hostile threat. She just shoots them. Gone. Another person's gone, and our big cast gets whittled down to nothing because she keeps shooting everybody. Which is kind of interesting. And poor Luma, he doesn't know what to do. He's lost in the woods. And who's going to follow these people? They wave the guns around, point them the whole time. Wouldn't you get tired of holding the laser pistol up for hours on end, traipsing around in the lookout point somewhere, or in the forest? I don't know. It's all interesting. The funny thing about it is that plays exactly like all of these advanced aliens always do. They're dumb advanced aliens. Several things should come into play. One is, if you're an interstellar traveler, you have an interstellar spaceship, you would think that the vast distances that you have to travel, that you know how to fly the darn thing instead of crash landing it, which seems to happen in everything. That's the one part that always gets me. And first contacts. These people not know how to do first contacts. They never do, right? Well, Quasar and Luma didn't know. They're just kind of wandering around looking for their lost pet. And they don't know how to do it. They ever think about putting a tag on them? No, of course not, because then there'd be no story, right? And the alien turns out being a good alien, Fluffy. He doesn't love Fluffy the alien. So, all very entertaining, and yes, they do make fun of all of that too well. Another thing that reminds me of that, too, is from of all things, and by the way, you can watch it on streaming on Pluto, is Earth Final Conflict. The Gene Roddenberry found in the waste can at his estate, a throwaway plot for Earth Final Conflict, with the aliens coming to Earth and helping us poor people. And one of the things they do is every single week, they would lose some vital piece of technology, or it would get stolen. And then they'd have to send these 2 hapless FBI agents in to go find and retrieve their technology, because they don't know how to fly their interstellar spaceships any better than anybody else. That was a very formulaic television show that went on forever. I don't know, but when they're traipsing around the world, around the forest, that's what I was thinking of as Earth Final Conflict. So even in the 1990s, 2000, or whenever that darn thing came out, nothing's changed. We have idiot aliens. All right, this will be third round, and this one is special effects or anything you want to talk about. So we're going to open it up, send it back to Tony, NT5TM. Tony, what do you got for us?
Hey, Tom, I really enjoyed this movie, and I think a lot of us did. And the thing I'd like to particularly bring our attention to is the sound. This movie had better sound than Office Space. I have worked or volunteered for a number of low-budget movies, and all of them have worse sound than this. I don't know if they persuaded everyone to come back for overdubbing, or they just had the world's greatest boom operator. I don't know. But I've never seen a cheap... I mean, this is basically like a filmed Boy Scout campfire skit, right? I mean, this is like the lowest budget movie ever. But we could hear everything, and the sound was okay. And for a low-budget movie to say the sound was okay is like getting a Nobel Prize in low-budget filmmaking. NT5TM.
Oh, Tony, you are so right, and it just slipped my mind because it was good enough that you could enjoy it. Sound is probably the hardest thing to do in movies or production, video production. It's the sound. And anybody who gets an award for it in the Academy Awards or Emmys or something like that, they deserve it because that's the best of the best. And the worst of the best or the worst of the worst, if they can get the sound right, they're not so bad. They're not the worst of the worst anymore. All right, next is Chris, K0FER. Chris, your comments, special effects, music. There was music, I think. Oh, yeah, and there was dancing, too. What did you like best?
There was music, and that's what I want to talk about. Other than the dance scene, which was a standard, blues progression, all the other music was built around one chord, with maybe two chords occasionally. It was so simple, but, for what it was, it worked. I mean, there's no pretense in this film, which is what I love. There's a lot of homage in this film. You get a little bit of Earth Girls Are Easy, some other stuff. Night of the Living Dead. It was a lot of fun. And if you enjoyed this, there's a sequel. K0FER. Back to that.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Next, Alex, KJ5EYK. Alex, your comments, special effects, or anything you missed along the way you'd like to talk about, go right ahead.
I really like the special effects in this. There was the opening scene where they show the flying saucer. There was only a couple of things that would have made that really epic. One is if they got an original pie pan from the Flying Saucer Pie Company in Houston, because on the bottom of them they used to say Flying Saucer. And the other one would have been the Frisbee Pie Company, because on the bottom of that one it said Frisbee. And the only reason I know that is I was watching how they made the Frisbee, and they ran into some problems because they called it a Frisbee and there was a pie company. So I really enjoyed the prop work in this. The opening scene was the biggest mishmash of stuff. They had the lid from the pressure cooker. They had the vegetable steamer. They had the 4-inch flex tubing, random wires. It was amazing. But probably my favorite prop in the entire movie, and I don't know that anybody really paid attention to it much, was the ray gun. That was actually really cool with the vacuum tubes. That nailed that period and genre to a T. I really liked the ray gun. The skeleton, can't say enough about the skeleton. It was a cheap Halloween store skeleton, but man, did they make it work. I really enjoyed the effects in this movie. For as bad as they were great. KJ5EYK, back to the net.
Thanks, Alex. You pick up so many interesting details that I missed while watching the film. Great. I love it. Next up is Bob, AI5QE. Bob, your comments. Go ahead.
Well, this is one part of the show that I both loved and didn't like. I think that the science fiction, the flying saucer hanging from fishing line, bouncing around, I liked a lot because I remember that. I remember it was Hal Rocher who made those old science fiction movies. But when they zoomed in, and like early in the movie, and you had the two alien astronauts sitting in a chair before they moved to their lawn furniture, which was a little too campy. The shot was too clear. Everything was too clean, and the backdrop of their control station was too clean. If they wanted to make it a better homage to those old movies, that should have been a lot more lights, a lot more controls, and a little blurrier. I don't know if you follow what I'm saying, but it was when that happened. And by the way, this is not what you're asking now. But same thing with hairstyles. Mom's hair.
Oops, we lost another one. Bob, AI5QE. You still there? Man, this must be catching because that's happened. My radio went out, and we lost Chris for a little bit. Now we lost Bob. I'm sure he'll be back, so we'll figure this all out. Next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, come on. I know you got lots of comments about special and not so special effects and other stuff. Go ahead.
WB5OZL. I don't really remember much of the way of special effects. The spaceship, I think, was a Jiffy Pop thing, and the costumes were not terribly interesting, and the little guns. I mean, obviously it's a budget. And this one cheap plastic dollar store skeleton they used for everything. But that's okay. If you don't have a budget, you don't. There's no reason why you can't make a movie just because you don't have a budget. Stock footage of airplanes, that was nice. The thing worked because it is what it is. They worked with what they had, and they made their movie, and they had fun doing it. So, special effects just were not in the cards. There were some hilarious things. The lawn chairs that was funny. And some of the other stuff that they did was just, it was just ridiculously funny. And that's okay. It was entertaining. Back to that, WB5OZL.
Well, thank you, Brenda. And next up is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your comments, special effects, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about. Go ahead.
Obviously, I won't comment on the visual effects, but, I'm glad somebody brought up the audio because it was so good that I didn't it's like I was watching one of the 50s or 60s science fiction movies, and the audio was so good, I didn't even notice that it was good. It was just there. Usually that's the first thing I notice about the newer movies that are made is I can't always pick out the words and things. And I do have a hearing impairment, but still, with my hearing aids, I can boost things up. And I struggle with the audio of the modern movies, and I think that's also why I like the older movies. Audio was important, and I know that I was a board operator and things like that, and there's things you can do to bring up audio, and I obviously don't do closed captioning, so. It was maybe that is what also made this movie enjoyable for me. I didn't have to strain to pull out the audio, and so the music and things like that. It wasn't overwhelming the audio, and they didn't have the voices down too low. It just worked for me, and so I think that is why I would watch it again, because I could follow the dialogue. so easily, and I hadn't even thought about it because they did such a good job with that audio. So that for me is impressive, and that should be like its own the movie awards for best audio and best voice volume or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I got. I just bought the movie. W5 DLC.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thanks for your comments. Next up, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what do you want to bring to the net now? Special effects or anything else? Go ahead.
This is KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree with what's been said there. The sound was surprisingly good. I was thinking that as well last night as we watched it. That it was really clear for a low budget movie. And, there was no weird reverb or echoey sounds or hard to hear them. I do agree. Modern day movies, they have a tendency to have the music and background and effects up higher than the speaking volume, which always makes it difficult. I think a lot of that has to do with the modern day movies. They recorded in so many different film formats or audio formats. You have your surround sound, you get your different, multiple different types of surround sound. And I don't think they really worry too much about just good old-fashioned mono or stereo television. So when you play it back on your television, if you don't actually have a surround system in the center channel, it don't always play it back very well. So these old movies were obviously, really old movies were mono, and of course the more modern era, at least got into stereo, but yeah, no, it is nice to be able to actually hear what's actually being said for a change. So I do agree with that. Yeah, the special effects were definitely very campy. Their spaceship, basically just a table with a bunch of stuff thrown on it, not even organized in any way, shape, or form. Their back wall behind them with their instruments was literally on a sheet. You could see it shake sometimes. But once again, I don't think they were really trying, and I think they thought that was part of the joke. We watched a movie about 3 or 4 months ago that kind of did something along those similar lines. I don't remember the name of it, but that's just, that was just part of the comedy side of it. So, in a way, it's kind of hard to knock it for that, because that's the whole point. If you enjoy that kind of campy humor, then you're going to love it. If you don't, then you won't. I do agree the movie overall was a little long, I think. I say that a lot about movies, but not normally about an hour-long movie. I think they did overdo it a bit. The dance scene was longer than it needed to be, and a few of the scenes. But overall, I found this movie okay and entertaining. I wouldn't watch it again, but if you got an hour to kill, I'd say it's okay to watch. Anyway, looking forward to the next one like always. Thanks, Tom. Back to that, KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. And before I make my comments, I'll ask if there's any additional check-ins. Please come now. Okay, well, I'm busy chatting over here, and I was thinking, do I have anything prepared for this section? Probably not. We've already mentioned the sound and that. One thing I will say, I don't know about the rest of you, how you watch movies and what you've got for reproducing sound. I've got a 7.1 system. It's not Atmos, it's an older system, but it does fairly well, and I frequently have to go and recalibrate it so that I can get the center sound, which is supposed to be the mostly voice center speaker thing, and I still have trouble with it, so much trouble with it, in fact, that I go ahead and put closed caption on most of the time, particularly when watching movies. It just makes it easier for me to figure out what the heck people are saying. I agree with everyone else. I think part of that has to do with, a couple of things. One is that in older movies and television, because they're monophonic, so it's all coming from one place. And if it's television in particular, when we're talking the 50s and 60s, the audio, the actors are usually classically trained. They almost shout into the microphones and articulate because they've done this on stage. So they project, and you can understand what they're saying. Whereas today, with the sound is separated out into these discrete channels, and a lot of times then the sound is difficult to understand, or if you don't have your home system set up exactly right, your voice is what gets lost through all the explosions and everything else. It's also compression and expansion and all of that. We as ham radio operators have a tendency to know more about that, but I think with more modern stuff, this becomes a problem. So I find it frustrating. I watch older TV because I'm old, and now I'm retired. I watch lots of older television stuff that's all monophonic and that, and it really is a lot easier and more fun to enjoy because I can understand what they're saying, and it makes all the difference in the world. This movie definitely fit that, and you're right. I think one of the great things about this film is that the audio was so good we didn't even think about it. We didn't have to argue over it. And the fact that I didn't even think about it myself, because the audio is always so critical in films, they succeeded. In this silly little small film, they managed to make it work. Okay, we still have time left. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. If anybody has any additional comments they want to make, I'll take in the order that you give your call sign. So if you got something, please come with your call.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, Tony, I think you get the final word. NT5TM, go ahead.
Well, Tom, this is the most predictable thing I appreciate it. I had a great time. I'm going to bed, but I'm really glad that you were here, and I really appreciate hearing everyone's comments. NT5TM.
All right, very good. Well, it is, I'm glad you were here. I'm glad folks checked in. We had a pretty healthy round of conversation this evening on a movie. I wasn't exactly sure. I'm never sure when we put these out and we watch the films, and there's comments on Friday evenings. There's a bunch of us, well, a few of us. I wouldn't say there's a bunch. There's a few of us that get together on Friday evening and watch whatever the assigned movie is at 8 o'clock and stay awake for as long as we can. And then we discuss the movie. So we discuss the movie in real time, which is kind of fun in and of itself. But last night, I wasn't so sure that we were going to get a lot of conversations and contributions this evening because there wasn't much to the film. But as soon as you made the comment, hey, the plot was making the film, not the film itself, or that was one of the subplots at least. I thought it put a whole new tenor on the film, and I guess I'm kind of slow when it comes to that, but you're absolutely right. That's what made the movie fun, and it made our discussion interesting this evening. So thank you, everybody, for that. Next week's movie is called Moon Crash. Let me see here. What year? Hold on. Oh, this one is from 2022 as well. It's probably just a small amateur production, I'm not sure. But at any rate, that's next week's movie. It says Jeremy London is in it or produced it or something, whoever the heck that guy is. Say 7-3 to you, everyone. Thanks for participating. I'll watch the last of The Night Stalker, and then after that I'll probably watch about 15 minutes of Lost in Space and then be over. And then tomorrow I got to get up early if it isn't raining in the morning and go do my run. I got to get up a half hour earlier. The gang is getting up earlier now. Okay, see y'all later. Have a good evening. Thank you all. Had a lot of fun this evening. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.